Let me ask you something. How many times today have you replayed a conversation in your head? Not because something dramatic happened, just a normal conversation. Maybe with your boss, maybe with a friend, maybe with someone at the coffee shop. And yet, hours later, you are still there in your mind, picking it apart, wondering if you said the wrong thing, wondering what they meant when they paused, wondering why you didn't say something smarter. If that sounds familiar, you are an overthinker. And I want you to know something right at the start. You are not broken. You are not crazy. You are not weak. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is, it is doing too much of it. And today I want to walk you through why your mind does this, what is actually happening inside your head when you spiral, and most importantly, the practical things you can do to slow it down. I have spent years studying this, both academically and personally. Because I will be honest with you, I am an overthinker too. I know what it feels like to lie in bed at 2 a.m, staring at the ceiling, replaying something that happened 6 years ago. I know the feeling of starting a simple email and rewriting it 11 times before sending. I know what it is to walk into a room and immediately start scanning every face for signs of disapproval. So when I talk about overthinking, I am not lecturing you from above. I am sitting next to you. Here is the first thing you need to understand. Overthinking is not a sign of intelligence, even though we often comfort ourselves by believing it is. It feels intelligent because it feels like effort. It feels like we are working hard on a problem. But most of the time, overthinking is your nervous system trying to create the illusion of control over things you cannot actually control. Your brain is essentially saying, if I just think about this enough, if I just analyze every angle, I can prevent something bad from happening. The problem is, this almost never works. The future does not become safer because you worried about it more. The conversation does not change because you replayed it 80 times. The decision does not become clearer because you made yet another list. So why does your brain insist on doing it? There is a part of your brain called the default mode network. When you are not actively focused on a task, this network lights up. It is the part of you that wanders, that ruminates, that imagines. In healthy doses, it is the source of creativity and self-reflection. But in people who overthink, the default mode network gets stuck in a loop. It keeps churning over the same material, like a washing machine that never finishes its cycle. And the more you let it run, the deeper the grooves become, until thinking this way feels like the only way to think. Now, I want to share something that changed my life when I first heard it. Most overthinking is not actually thinking. It is a feeling pretending to be thinking. Let me say that again because it is important. Most overthinking is a feeling pretending to be thinking. When you are spiraling about whether your friend is mad at you, you are not really analyzing the situation. You are sitting in a feeling of anxiety, and your mind is generating thoughts that match that feeling. The thoughts feel like investigation, but they are really just the noise the anxiety makes. If the anxiety were gone, the thoughts would be gone too. They are not separate things. The thoughts are the symptom, not the cause. This is why you cannot think your way out of overthinking. People try this all the time. They reason with themselves. They say, well, statistically, my friend is probably not mad at me. Logically, the email I sent was fine. Rationally, this presentation will go well. But it never works for very long because the engine driving the thoughts is not logic. It is emotion. The body is dysregulated, and the mind is just narrating the dysregulation. So what do? Let me give you the practical part. The first thing is what I call naming the loop. The next time you catch yourself spiraling, I want you to literally say, out loud or in your head, I am in a loop right now. That single act of naming creates a small gap between you and the thought. Suddenly, you are not the thought. You are the person who notices the thought. This is the foundation of every contemplative tradition in the world, and it is also backed by modern neuroscience. The moment you observe the loop, the prefrontal cortex comes online, and the limbic system, which has been running the show, starts to settle. The second thing is to ask, Is this thinking or is this feeling? Genuine thinking moves toward a conclusion. It has direction. It produces decisions or insights. Overthinking is circular. It returns to the same starting point again and again. If you have been turning something over for more than 10 minutes and you are no closer to clarity, you are not thinking. You are feeling. And the response to feeling is not more analysis. It is to feel the feeling in your body until it passes. This is harder than it sounds because most of us were never taught to feel. We were taught to think about feelings. We were taught to manage them, to talk about them, to process them. But sitting with a feeling in the body, just letting it be there without trying to fix it, is something many of us have to learn from scratch. So when you are overthinking, try this. Stop. Close your eyes. Drop your attention from your head into your chest. Notice what you actually feel. Tightness? Heaviness? A flutter? Just notice. Do not try to change it. Do not try to interpret it. Just keep your attention there for 60 seconds. You will probably notice the urge to think pulling you back up into your head. Resist it. Keep coming back to the body. After a minute or two, something will shift. The feeling will move, soften, or change, and the thoughts will quiet down on their own. The third thing I want to give you is the question that has saved me more times than I can count. When you are stuck in a loop, ask yourself, what is the smallest next step? Not the perfect step, not the optimal step, just the smallest one. Overthinkers tend to wait for clarity before they act. They believe that if they just think long enough, the right answer will appear, and then they will move. But it works the other way around. Action creates clarity. Thinking does not. The moment you take any small step, even a tiny one, you generate new information. The world responds. You learn something. And that learning is worth more than 10 hours of mental rehearsal. I want to talk about something that often gets missed in conversations about overthinking. Many of us learned to overthink in childhood. If you grew up in an unpredictable environment, where the moods of caregivers shifted suddenly, where you had to read the room to stay safe, your nervous system learned that hypervigilance was survival. Reading every signal, anticipating every reaction, scanning for danger. That was not a flaw. That was a brilliant adaptation. It probably kept you out of trouble, but the cost is that your nervous system never learned to relax. As an adult, you bring that same hypervigilance into situations that are no longer dangerous. You read your boss's email like it might bite you. You replay social interactions like they are crime scenes. The world has changed, but your nervous system has not gotten the memo. If this resonates, please be gentle with yourself. The overthinking is not a character flaw. It is the residue of an old strategy that once worked. Healing it is not about beating yourself up for being anxious. It is about slowly teaching your body that you are safe now, that the room is not going to explode, that the email does not contain a threat, that you do not have to anticipate every possible reaction. This is slow work. It does not happen in a weekend. But it does happen, and it is one of the most worthwhile things a person can do. Let me give you one more tool. I call it the closing the file practice. At the end of each day, set aside 5 minutes. Sit somewhere quiet. Take out a piece of paper or open a notes app. Write down the things that are looping in your head. Not in detail, just a list. The conversation with the coworker. The text you sent your sister. The decision about the apartment. Whatever is rattling around. Then look at each item and ask yourself, is there something I can do about this tonight? If yes, do it. Send the text, make the note, set the reminder. If no, write next to it, nothing to do tonight. And then close the notebook. Tell yourself out loud if it helps, this can wait until tomorrow. This sounds simple, almost too simple, but it works because it gives the mind permission to release. Overthinking often persists because some part of you is afraid that if you stop thinking about it, you will forget. Writing it down tells that part. It is captured. You can rest. I want to talk for a moment about something that does not get said enough. Overthinking has a cost. We tend to treat it as a quirky personality trait, something to make jokes about, something to put on a tote bag. But the truth is, chronic overthinking erodes you. It steals your sleep. It poisons your relationships, because instead of being present with the people you love, you are half there and half lost in your own head. It robs you of joy, because joy requires presence, and overthinking pulls you out of presence every time. It increases your risk of depression, anxiety disorders, and physical illness, because a mind that never stops produces a body that never gets to rest. So, when I take this seriously with you, it is not because I think you should be ashamed. It is because I want you to have your life back. There is something else I want to mention. A lot of overthinkers are also perfectionists. The two travel together. The reason you cannot stop thinking about that email is because you wanted it to be perfect, and now that it is sent, you cannot stop checking it for flaws. The reason you replay the conversation is because you wanted to be perfect in it, and now you are auditing your performance. Perfectionism is not about high standards. It is about fear of being judged inadequate. And until you can separate yourself from that fear, the overthinking will keep coming, because the perfectionism keeps feeding it. So one of the deeper interventions for overthinking is learning to be okay with being imperfect, with sending the slightly clunky email, with saying the slightly awkward thing, with being the slightly off person in the room. Because the alternative, polishing yourself to a mirror finish so no one can ever criticize you, is not actually achievable. And the trying is killing you. I want to address something else. Sometimes people will tell you to just stop thinking. Just let it go. Just don't worry about it. If that worked for you, you would not be watching this video. So please ignore that advice. You cannot bully yourself out of overthinking. You cannot shame it away. The more you fight it, the louder it gets. What works is the opposite. Curiosity. Gentleness. Slowing down enough to look at what is actually happening underneath the thoughts. There is almost always a feeling there. A fear of being judged. A fear of being abandoned. A fear of failing. A fear of being seen. When you find that feeling and acknowledge it, the overthinking has nothing to feed on and it begins to dissolve. I also want to gently tell you, if your overthinking is severe, if it is interfering with your sleep, your work, your relationships, please consider talking to a therapist. Not because something is wrong with you, but because the right person can help you move through this faster than you can alone. There is no medal for suffering in private. Asking for help is not weakness. It is one of the most adult things you can do. I want to give you one more practice that I think will surprise you with how powerful it is. It is called scheduled worry time. I know, it sounds counterintuitive. Why would I tell an overthinker to schedule more worrying? Stay with me. The way it works is this. You pick a 15-minute window every day, ideally not right before bed. Maybe it is 6 in the evening. During that 15 minutes, you are allowed to worry about anything you want. You can write it down, you can pace, you can spiral, whatever you want. But here is the rule. Outside of that window, when a worry comes up, you say to yourself, "Not now. That is for 6 o'clock." And you write it down on a list to bring to your worry session. What happens over a few weeks is fascinating. The worries you bring to your worry time start to feel less urgent. Half of them you cannot even remember why they felt important. Your mind learns that worries will be addressed, but on your schedule, not theirs. You are essentially training your brain that worry is a thing you do at certain times, not a constant background activity. This technique comes out of cognitive behavioral therapy, and it has decades of research behind it. I have seen it transform people. Try it for 2 weeks before you decide if it works. Now, let me leave you with something to take into the rest of your day. Your mind is not your enemy. Even when it is racing, even when it is keeping you up at night, even when it is making you feel like you are losing control, your mind is trying to protect you. It is using old strategies that no longer fit your current life, but its intention is care. When you can hold that even a little, the relationship with your own mind starts to change. You stop fighting yourself. You start working with yourself. So here is what I am going to ask you to do this week. Pick one of these tools. Just one. Maybe it is naming the loop. Maybe it is dropping into the body. Maybe it is the closing the file practice. Pick one and try it every day for 7 days. Do not try to do all of them. Do not try to be perfect at it. Just pick one and let it be your experiment. Notice what happens. Notice what is hard. Notice what shifts. And then come back and tell me about it in the comments. If this video helped you, please give it a like. It actually does help me reach more people who need to hear this. And if you want more conversations like this one, more honest looks at the things that go on inside our heads, please subscribe. I will be making a lot more videos like this. There is so much more to say about anxiety, about the patterns we carry, about how to actually feel better in our own minds and bodies. I want to walk through it with you. One last thing before I let you go. I want you to remember that the goal is not to never overthink again. That is not a realistic target, and it is not even a good one. A mind that thinks deeply and considers things carefully is a gift. The goal is not to silence your mind. The goal is to develop a different relationship with it, to know when it is being useful and when it is spinning, to know when to listen and when to gently set the thoughts down, to trust yourself enough to live without needing to predict every outcome. That is what we are working toward. Not a perfect calm, but a quiet confidence. Not the absence of thought, but a friendlier presence inside your own head. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me with 20 minutes of your day, or however long this video has been for you. The fact that you are watching, that you are looking for tools, that you are trying to understand yourself better, tells me something about you. You are not someone who has given up. You are someone who is doing the work, even when it is hard. That matters. That is everything. I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Be kind to your mind. And remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who is listening.